It's a disconnected time, especially for students. And listen, I know I have a college kid stuck at home and I see the challenges every day. And this makes me think of my dad, who was a professor. I remember how he would make these strong connections with his students on campus. He'd check in with them and see how they're doing. He'd ask how their families were doing. He'd see how the university could support them more. But how do you make these connections now in a very disconnected time? Faculty and staff are searching for ways to support students and stay connected to them. That is why so many colleges are accelerating their digital transformation with data at the core of that process. Student data can drive insights on whether or not students are getting online regularly, showing up for office hours, and how we can do more to help them in their success. Data is a powerful tool now more than ever. Good morning. I'm Leah McGowan Hare, and welcome to another one of our live weekly conversations as part of our Leading Through Change series, a chance for you to hear from leaders around the world and how they're doing their best to get through these challenging times and support their communities. Now, before I hand it over to today's amazing host, Salesforce.org Vice President of Education Cloud Industry Solutions, Jason Belland, I want to preview the next hour. Jason will be interviewing two incredible guests that are using data to support their students during these challenging times. Bradley Watts, the Chief Data Officer at Ivy Tech Community College, and Kia Franklin, the Chief Program Officer at Equal Opportunity Schools. Bradley and Kia will shed some light on increasing the importance of technologies like Education Cloud and Tableau to proactively support students in need and close that education equality divide. Two incredibly important topics that are becoming more and more critical today. Now, if you have any questions for Bradley or Kia, please submit them on the Q&A tab on your screen, and we'll try to get to as many as possible later in the show. Now, if you're watching on Twitter, please use the hashtag Leading Through Change. Now, we'll want to dive into a live demo and highlight the power of Education Cloud and Tableau, and we'll close with a special performance with LT Smooth. With that, it is my pleasure to welcome our host, Jason. Jason, take it over.
Leah, thank you. Thank you so much. It's so great to be here with you today. And thanks to all of you for joining us today. You know, leading through change is about how we can learn from one another and lead through challenging times. And right now, I know more than ever, we're all aware of how connected, how interconnected we are, and how our shared stories can really bring us together as a community to create a better future. I think education is one of those stories, right? Education has touched all of us in some shape or form throughout our lives. And in fact, you know, many of us, including me, are lifelong learners. We're continuing to learn, upskill and reskill as our careers change and evolve over time. And, you know, when I think about lifelong learners, I think about my mom. You know, my mom was a lifelong learner. My mom went to community college, took a break, largely because of me. And then, you know, later in life, when I was about 12 years old, realized there's a gap. There's a gap between her reality and her dream. And so she went back to school as an adult to get her BA and then to get her MA and to become a K-12 teacher. And I'm so proud of her and proud of the work that she did as a lifelong learner and the community that surrounded her, faculty and staff. And her work and her journey really does inspire me, right? Inspire me to continue my career in education. And what I love most about her journey, in fact, is that it's really not a special journey. It's a journey that happens every single day in families all around the country. And it's a journey that is supported by our colleges and our community colleges all around the country. Our community colleges really at the center of connecting people from where they are today to their dream, connecting access and opportunity and supporting students no matter where they are on their journey, 18-year-old, 28-year-old, 48-year-old, no matter where they are on their journey, making sure they get equitable support services so that they can connect to better. And so part of doing that, right? It's one thing to say we're going to support all students, but how do you actually do that? part of doing that is what we were just talking about, Leah was just talking about, right? How do we bring together the data, the insights, so that we can have an informed perspective on what does that 18-year-old student need? What does the 45-year-old student need? What does a 28-year-old student need? And with community colleges serving millions of students around the country every single day, it's more important than ever that they can get that kind of view to understand students and then connect with those students to provide the kinds of support services that are going to make a big difference. They're going to help that student get to the finish line and create their own future. So with that as context and background, I'm so excited to have a conversation with two amazing guests. They're doing incredible work in this space. So please welcome Kia Franklin, Chief Program Officer at Equal Opportunity Schools, and Bradley Watts, the Chief Data Officer at Ivy Tech Community College. Brad, Kia, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's so great to connect with you. Listen, Brad, I'll start in with you. I'd love to hear, tell us all a little bit more about Ivy Tech Community College and really about the kind of students you serve. And I'd love to hear, before we jump into that, it'd be really great to hear. I shared a little bit of my personal story, what's inspiring me, what's motivated me a little bit in my career, what drives me. I'd love to kind of hear your journey. You're doing great work at an amazing organization. What brought you there?
Yeah, so I have a similar journey to your mother in one way. I went the traditional route, went to Indiana University. I'm a general studies major, right? Didn't know what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go. And I fell into an IT career, actually working at IT for the newspaper at IU. In that, career is different. It's about certifications. It's about, educating yourself in a different way than this path. So I spent a lot of years out in IT. But then later in life and as an adult, I said, I really want to get back into this and loved it way more than I did when I was younger. Just gobbled it up, finished my bachelor's late, got my master's. And that really sparked that yearning to help in education.
That's awesome. That's great, Brad.
Yeah. So landed at Ivy Tech, thrilled to be there. Ivy Tech is the nation's largest singly accredited statewide community college. We service 100,000 students annually. In addition to that, another 60,000 dual credit high school level students is part of that. We also, our mission for Ivy Tech, and being a Hoosier myself my whole life, is to make sure education, high education, quality education is accessible for everyone, for every Hoosier. And that comes in a couple of different ways, right? And the programs that we provide that are specific to what needs we have in Indiana, how we provide that education via, can't say traditional anymore, can we? On campus or virtual, right?
Yeah, there's no traditional.
Yeah, tradition doesn't work so much anymore. And really to try to help lift Indiana's economy by helping meet the aspirations of Hoosiers.
That's great, Brett. And I love the tie-in with economic development. I mean, sometimes I like to say one of my favorite things about community colleges is the word community. And I mean that in the sense of how invested community colleges are in their values, in the mission, and in making an impact in the communities they serve. So I love that you're talking about that. And also just the number of students that you have, you're operating at such scale, and how do you, thinking about how you personalize support services. We're going to get into that in a minute, but I'd love to kind of.
Hey, you're stealing my thunder.
Okay, so we're getting there. But let's bring in Kia to the conversation. Kia, I want to know everything about you. What's driving you? What's motivating you? And then tell us a little bit about the great work you're doing at Equal Opportunity Schools.
Thanks, Jason. So a little bit about myself. I'm a product of being part of a family of educators. So my grandmother was born in 1922, was a college graduate, which, absolutely was a rarity for, being a Black woman raised in the South. And that's my mother's mother. My father's mother was one of the smartest, kindest people I've ever met, and didn't finish ninth grade. And so I'm the product of, women and men who really emphasize the importance of education, as a tool for advancement and really as a tool for community advancement, and the product of Seattle Public Schools, and really the product of a mother's, particularly both of my parents were wonderful, but a mother's advocacy for opportunity to have access to advanced coursework. Without her, I would not have had the opportunity to take classes that were, grades ahead. And at the same time, I kind of feel like much of my career has been motivated by maybe a small sense of survivor's guilt from having had access to privilege within a public education system that's really stratified, and particularly stratified when it comes to students who look like me, who come from neighborhoods like mine. And so I'm in this field because I know what it means to have access to an education. And I also know that a lot of students who look like me, come from my neighborhood, were not given those opportunities. I went on to college, studied political science, went to law school because coming from a family of educators, I had folks saying, don't be a teacher. It's really hard work. It's it's unrewarded. And unfortunately for them, but fortunately for me, I meandered my way back into the education space, doing youth development work and things of that nature until I worked in a school as a counselor, and am now proud to be in my, just had my 7th anniversary of working at Equal Opportunity Schools. And what I was immediately drawn to Equal Opportunity Schools' mission because of my own life experiences. So our mission is to ensure that students of color and low-income students have equitable access to America's most academically intense high school courses and succeed at the highest levels. And so what that really means is working with schools and districts to advocate for absolute opportunity for all students, and particularly young people who are typically not served and not seen by the system. And access meaning, enrollment in courses like the dual enrollment courses that Brad mentioned, AP classes, IB courses, but not just enrollment, really thinking about creating the type of equitable experiences once enrolled, to ensure that students feel that they belong, feel that they're seen, see themselves in the curriculum content. So, our primary measure is enrollments, but it's much bigger than that. It's really about, frankly, desegregating and detracking a system that's really stratified. And it's very difficult work, particularly in times like this where we can't be in person, but it's really rewarding work. So I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, this is, what a great story. Thank you. I'm so inspired by hearing your story. So thank you for sharing that. And just, I think it's Brad, Kia, both sharing your stories. It's a great reminder of how all of us have stories that, can help us connect to our passion, our mission, and how we can channel our energy to really help improve the world around us. So thank you for sharing that with us. Okay, so Brad, I want to turn back to you. You said I stole your thunder earlier, so now I think we're getting to the Brad's thunder right now. So, we've got the inspiration, we've got the passion, we want to do this great work, but it's hard work, and it's hard work for you. You've got 40 locations to manage. That's a lot of students, a lot of data. Talk to us. You're chief data officer. Sorry. Talk to us about having a data-centric culture in education. Why is that important for community colleges right now?
Yeah, so if you think about the cultures that are 50 miles, 100 miles away from you right now, again, Kia, stratification, right? So each of these communities in their needs and their economics and how they look and how they feel, each are slightly different. What data allows us to do is not look at everybody so abstract, right? But narrow down in on the very specific needs of each of where you have just less than 20 campuses in our regions, and find out those wraparound services that, say, in downtown Indianapolis there might be a need for transportation. Out in the rural areas, it might be childcare. But capturing that data about our populations, understanding what normal is, understanding what's not normal, and how do we help those people, it is really the key to providing that accessibility.
That's amazing. I think that, Kia, this reminds me of something I think that we kind of connected on when we were preparing for the panel, which is around, how data is power, and when it's used for good, right? It can be life-changing for students. And I think that's a sentiment we can all agree on. When we have this data, when we use it for good, that is a life-changing moment. I understand that you recently received a grant from the Tableau Foundation because of all the great work you are doing in this area. So first of all, congratulations on that. I'd love to kind of learn more about that. So how is your organization using Tableau to really drive student success and provide new opportunities for students?
Absolutely. We're so grateful for Tableau's ongoing support, and really support in helping us to leverage, EOS is committed to data, being data driven. And what we've been able to do is generate a really rich data set. So we collect a series of data from our school and district partners, enrollment data, specific student level information, students' insights, of course, demographic data as well. But what Tableau in particular has helped us to do is to leverage things like Tableau dashboards as a platform for really maximizing the impact of the data that we have. And so one example, and this connects to the Tableau grant opportunity, is that we've been able to use data to get a sense of not only what's happening globally in a school around access to AP courses, but what's happening specifically within particular types of AP or IB subject areas. So for example, STEM, what we know, and this is sort of like the meta version of data is power. We know that students having exposure to things like computer science AP courses in high school, particularly students of color and low-income students, they're like 6 to 7 times more likely to then major in a CS or STEM related field of study once they're in college, if they've had that opportunity in high school. And so what we've been able to do is say, great, across your AP or IB or dual enrollment courses, you are having strong impacts in terms of equitable access for Black and Brown and low income students. But did you know that in your AP STEM class, you have no Latina or Black girls? And there are 30 girls who have said via our student survey that they're actually really interested in that. And so we are able to do course level disaggregation through the dashboarding to kind of elevate that, to catalyze actions, to make the data actionable and not just something that you observe and say, oh man, isn't that too bad? So it's really shifting it as data is information. And once we have the information, it behooves us to act upon it. So that's just one. I mean, I could go on and on. And our Tableau partners have been amazing in many other ways that we can talk about, but that's one example of how we've used data to leverage change.
Yeah, that's awesome, Kia. And I was just thinking about, I was getting a visual in my mind as you were telling your great story about, you're kind of giving every staff member these kind of superpowers in the sense that, there's all this data that exists and is in different places, but with Tableau, you're able to actually bring it together and kind of democratize the data and the insights. So now we can see the full picture, dig into it really easily and quickly, and then take those actions with the full lens on what's really happening. So I just, I feel like, working with your organization must feel really good when you're able to have a fulfilling moment like that, where you've unlocked an insight that you can then make a difference in someone's life. Brad, let me turn back to you. Similar question for you. Ivy Tech, how are you using Education Cloud with Tableau to not only gather data across all of your different locations, but like Kia talked about, not just gathering the data, not just seeing the insight and observing it, but taking action and making a difference for students?
Yeah, so we're leveraging, well, let's start with traditional higher ed systems. We're about capturing the data we need to fulfill a process on the back end, right? A financial aid process, a payment process, an enrollment process. So what we're doing is leveraging Salesforce with MuleSoft as the middleware piece, Tableau for the reporting piece. We're even, and then supplementing that with Snowflake as our data warehouse. What we're trying to capture then is more time series type data, behavior. We want to see behavior. We want to catch where things are frustrating, where things are working really well. And then back to my earlier point, right? some behaviors look different in a small rural community than in downtown Indianapolis. And being able to understand those and predict those and see those things earlier than possible. What using a whole stack allows us to do is, for a Tableau dashboard, I can use MuleSoft to go get lists and specific data really quickly and get it in hand in seconds. And I'll never say real time, so we'll say near time, right? Get it to them near time. Meanwhile, our batch processing overnight that are running our data science models and our predictive models become available the next day, right? And what we're trying to do with some centers of excellence is get away from report watching, right? Which is kind of what we're describing here, into action. What are you going to do, right? So if the line goes up, what are you going to do? If the line stays flat, what are you going to do, right? So what is the action that we want to do to help students?
I love that, Brett, and I love that you're looking at a lot of different inputs, right, including behavioral inputs, and acknowledging at a downtown campus versus a rural campus, there's going to be different ways that we need to interpret that data and then act upon that data. That reminds me, and I think reminds us all of issues of equity and making sure that we are acknowledging the whole student, the whole learner, and the context of their environment where they are, and then taking action to support them with equitable support, wraparound services that appreciate where they are on their journey and then help them get to the next step. Kia, I know you've been thinking about that a lot in terms of how do we sustain and extend equity across schools across the country. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. I think in particular, in light of where we are as a country and as a system in terms of the education system, with school closures and having virtual environments, we've been really thinking about how to fully invest in this notion that equity work is community work and it can't be done in a silo, but how can we leverage data and technology to forge community, to forge connection, particularly with students at the center. So, thinking about ways that we can ensure students don't feel disconnected. And of course, there are technology access issues as well, but there's also just a sense that students don't feel that they're able to have the typical organic connections with each other and with their teachers. And so we've been thinking about practices like connecting the trusted adults that the data from our survey show have strong relationship with students, and facilitating practices that continue to keep them connected with those students. So that's just one example, but really the emphasis is on student voice, empowering students to continue with self-advocacy, self-care, and having the adults in the building have that data at their fingertips and in the center of their decision-making during such a bizarre and challenging time as this one.
That's great. And Kia, I'm going to stick with you for just a minute here. We've got about 30 seconds left, so ask you a question, then quickly get a thought from Brad. But I think this is important because we started at the beginning about how we can all learn from one another and leading through change. And I'd love to hear just a quick thought or two on what can education actually learn from other industries, from others that are working also with our students, because as they are consumers and existing in the world. What can we learn from others?
Man, well, I think the technology industry. I think the technology industry is teaching us how to stay connected and to problem solve using the collective wisdom that's at our fingertips through open source. So that's one example. That's
great, Brad.
Hypothesis testing. Start with a hypothesis. Whether you prove it or it fails, you learn from it, right? So put those out there and really dig into them.
I love that, Brad. And that's been something we've been hearing, in my role with Education Cloud at Salesforce. Something we've been hearing with so many schools is around taking how the pandemic, COVID-19 has encouraged us to take a more agile mindset and be more flexible in how we deploy things, how we think about things, and really testing and learning and failing fast. So I love that notion as well. Well, Kia and Brad, you're amazing. Thank you so much for this conversation. Can't wait to chat again. I'm going to hand it back to Leah now. I think we've got some questions from the audience.
Absolutely. And can I just say, I love this conversation, being a lifelong learner, coming from a family of educators. All of these are hitting and, definitely agree with everything you all say. So let's go ahead and get to some questions. A question from Rodrigo on the live stream for Kia and Bradley. Do you find that online tools provide an opportunity to create an equity for outcomes for students by empowering them with a wider variety of tools than trade schools might?
I feel like I want to hear from Brad first, just given the post-secondary prep. I do have some opinions, but I'd love to hear Brad.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It opens up different pathways. It opens up different ways to, again, right, we're talking about stratification, reaching as many people in different ways in the ways they want to be reached. So absolutely. The trade schools, Ivy Tech still does that. We have welding, we have, those kind of programs are equally as important in you can supplement your learning, right? Your hands-on learning that way. Absolutely. I think it's good. I watch a YouTube video to do just about anything, right? That I'm trying to do at home. So that kind of training access is good. But, like I said, at Ivy, the hands-on getting in and doing something is still very important.
I would agree. I'd say relevance is so key right now. And I think we've all realized that we have fewer skills in terms of like how to fix this thing, or, oh man, we really need, to beef up our skills during coronavirus, as we've become more aware of that. But also just being rooted in the purpose of education being for a career. And so I think that I would agree with Bradley. I think that it's about, maybe utilizing technology and access to these online platforms for learning to increase students' exposure to those opportunities, whichever direction they choose to go. And it's about ensuring that they have an open view of what's in front of them and what's possible for themselves.
Awesome. And I think that I hear a theme of making skills accessible, just removing those barriers and making those skills accessible and learning accessible to all in an equitable way, which, is something that we are die hard here at Salesforce with our free online learning platform, Trailhead, where you can learn all of the skills. And to your point, Kia, of relevancy, because we know technology is constantly changing, right? So being able to get those skills quickly and learn quickly, sort of at your pace in your own space or however you learn. So that's awesome. I get so excited. I'm like, okay, Leah, focus, stick to the questions, because I'm like, I want to have conversation. All right. JT asked, how do you know if a school is an equal opportunity school?
I love it. I love it. For us, I think, again, we let data drive. So we look at the data in front of us, and what it means to be an equal opportunity school is to be a school that's committed to continuously interrogating, are we doing everything that we can? Are we dismantling systems that don't work on behalf of students, that weren't designed to serve students? And are we doing everything that we possibly can to, as you just said, Leah, create equitable access to learning opportunities? And that's really what it boils down to. And I think, in a sense, any school can be, and and also there's no real end point. Like there's no like check off and now we are one. We serve over 600 schools. We have served over 600 schools since our inception as an organization across 32 states, and helped 43,000 plus students enroll in AP and IB. And we have schools that have worked with us for 6 and 7 years, because the nature of the challenge continues to evolve. So they can never say, oh, now we are. It's not a fixed identity. It's more about a commitment to the journey of being equitable education leaders.
Yeah, and in being explicit about that and about that journey, right? You want a school that is very explicit about that, and one that's constantly looking at themselves, right? Reevaluating where they're at, right? Because populations change, and attitudes change, and you have to be constantly evolving. So that internal reflection and being explicit about it, I think, supplements what he is saying.
Awesome. Oh, these questions are coming in. You guys got people pumped up here. This is great. So Christina on the live stream asked, how can other community colleges and education organizations start building a culture around data if one doesn't exist already?
So So we started with two things, and they're both around building centers of excellence. When I came to Ivy, there was a bit of a, I think, dichotomy that was there that wasn't acknowledged, and hopefully we're attacking that. One is a campus-centric, right, site-centric center of excellence, right, but focusing on the data that the butts and seats need to perform their daily job, right, and support students and support everything. And then another one that's at the functional level, that's looking at everything overall. What are the metrics that are driving us? What is the work that we need to do to move the community college forward, right? So big picture, little picture, those two things have to, they're separate enough that we need to look at them differently, but then we have to join them together, right? And that forms the tactics, the everyday execution that you need to do. So the campus COE is started, it's up and running. That is all about Tableau. That's about getting the data that folks need in their hands so that when a student comes in, there is no roadblocks. So that's how we got started. That's really step one. And then step two for us right now is standing up that functional center of excellence to drive metrics and measures that are meaningful. So hopefully that's a good way to start your journey.
Hey, Brad, I'd love to add just a little bit. That's great. You know, just to answer the question a little bit as well, I think from my perspective, I've seen a lot of schools who certainly struggle with that, of data in different places and how do we change the culture. And I think it's been really useful for a lot of folks to bring together a cross-functional group to really map out the student journey and understand how having insights at different key moments can actually drive impact, and how no one at the college, and you've seen this, Brad, as well, no one at the college should really believe they own the data, but rather they are stewards of the data over time, and we all have this shared responsibility. I think that's a powerful idea from a kind of change management perspective to share with staff.
Awesome. Well, it looks like we're coming up on our last question. Matt asked to both Kia and Bradley, with the new school year starting, what challenges are top of mind for the next 3 to 4 months?
I would start by just saying, I think the challenge of facilitating healing for students and staff who have really been going through this ongoing collective trauma between both coronavirus, being disconnected from their school communities, and this ongoing highly publicized racialized violence that we've had kind of a public reckoning with lately. So I would say healing, and I think that there are ways that you can use data and technology tools to facilitate that. We have a survey that we ask in the fall that we've upgraded to include questions that are really about, are you connected? Are you well? How can we make sure that we're supporting you? And we're planning to use that to really chart out the course of the next 2 to 3 months, and really just kind of assuming we don't have any blueprint. It's really going to be about driving our decisions with that data in hand to help us decide on, what our priorities are in terms of healing for the community.
Yeah, and I think accessibility, right? Come back to our theme, right? Ensuring that accessibility meets these new needs. This is, the closest thing statistically for us is the 2008 recession, right? This is a huge new wave. It's a change, in leveraging its technology, right? The Salesforce CRM allowing us to adapt quickly, so that we don't have hey, we've got to do something new to the system. 6 months later, it's going to be there. We have to adapt in weeks. And that's what technology is allowing us to do. And Jason's talked about it a lot. Another theme of the conversation, right? Changing those wraparound services, changing the things we need to do to lift up and support those people that feel displaced or have lost their job, things like that.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you, Kia, Bradley, and Jason, for facilitating this amazing conversation that's got us thinking on so many levels and what can we do? And for those that would like to contribute to Equal Opportunity Schools, please go to the link at sforce.co/equal opportunity schools. Once again, sforce.co/equal Equal Opportunity Schools. Now, which will take you straight to their website where you can learn how to contribute. Now, I'm excited to hand it off to my colleague, Sean, Director of Solution Engineering at Tableau, for a demo highlighting the power of Education Cloud and Tableau to do exactly what you heard Bradley and Kia and Jason talk about, support students through these challenging times.
Thank you so much, Leah. I'm Sean Pfaff, Director of Solution Engineering at Tableau. As Jason and our panel guests highlighted, data is critical to creating impact in education and driving student success, both in K-12 and higher ed. And the greatest impact comes when insights are not only discovered, but acted on to truly drive student success at scale. Tableau is the industry leader in helping people see and understand their data. And now, as part of Salesforce, Tableau education users can easily act on these insights using Education Cloud. I could not be more excited to show you the power of Tableau and Education Cloud together with all of you today. Now, let's dive into the demo. Sarah is the Dean of Students at Connected Community College in the Los Angeles area, and she's noticed recently that student enrollment for the second semester has declined, a common issue that many higher education institutions across the country are facing today. We know COVID is having an impact on student enrollment, but Sarah is curious to know if there is more to the story. Typically, these students would probably fall through the cracks at Connected Community College, but with Tableau, she can drill into the data in no time to make sure that doesn't happen. Sarah uses Tableau to look at the overall enrollment for the upcoming semester. By reviewing high-level attributes of the students' overall distribution across programs and GPA against attempted hours, she can quickly see how students are doing at a glance. Here's where she sees a troubling data point. Looks like there are more than 80 students from the first term that did not enroll for any units in the second term. We need to find out why. Sarah looks closer at her Tableau dashboard, and in just a few clicks, she sees something that catches her eye. It looks like a large number of students are now living away from campus in towns that Connected Community College doesn't typically serve. She can also see that a handful of the students receive Pell Grants. Sarah's leadership team assumed the drop in enrollment was due to students being uncertain about their next steps with the pandemic, but unfortunately, a larger issue is at play, right in community college's backyard. Due to the pandemic, many students lost their job and were focused to move further away from campus, highlighting a housing insecurity problem. With nearly 1 in 5 community college students having experienced homelessness, this is a top priority for Sarah that she wants to get in front of, and fast. Thankfully, she can gather the full support of Connected Community College to help these students in no time. Sarah can trigger a task in Tableau so her advising staff can start an outreach campaign to support these students using AdvisorLink, a purpose-built education cloud product designed to help advisors of all types better engage with students and ensure they stay on a path to success. So let's take a look at an advisor's view. Corey is an advisor at Connected Community College who is logged into AdvisorLink for the day. He lands on his homepage where he can easily see top alerts, advisee records, and his tasks for the day. Looks like the dean's task made it to Corey's desk, and in the top right-hand corner, he sees he has an overdue task to email students for an outreach campaign. So let's go ahead and take a look at Corey's contact list. When we look at the contact list, we can see that it's already been filtered for those students who were selected to be added to the campaign based on the data we saw in Tableau. Corey selects his group of students to be added to the campaign. In fact, every advisor at Connected Community College will be able to do the same for their students that were also identified for this outreach effort. From here, Corey selects Send Less Email. He doesn't have to worry about populating the content on his own because Salesforce supports custom templates that he can easily select directly in AdvisorLink. He selects the student outreach template, which encourages this group of students to set up an advising appointment and includes a link to housing resources as well. Just the simple, "We are here for you," can go such a long way during these times. Now that the email has been queued up, Corey can make his way to an individual student's contact record in AdvisorLink. We can see that the email has already been added to the activity history on the student's profile, and Corey can keep tabs on any updates or resources he can send out to support this particular student. Having all of this information in one place makes it easy for Corey to personalize his outreach and ensure each student has the holistic support they need from Connected Community College. Supporting students in the next normal means being data-driven and proactive. With Education Cloud and Tableau, Connected Community College was able to come together to take action on insight, supporting students in need and getting them back on track so they can enroll in the next semester and continue their learning journey. If you'd like to learn more, please visit the link you see below, sforce.co/Education Cloud Tableau. Now, back over to you, Leah.
That was great. Thank you, Sean. Now, if you want to learn more, and I know you do, you want to get hands-on with the Education Cloud and Tableau, check out this trail mix using the link below, sfdc.co/ECT. Once again, sfdc.co/ECT. Now it's time to be swept away with the beautiful sounds of LT Smooth. Take it away, LT Smooth.
I like the way sparkling earrings lay against your skin is so brown, and I wanna sleep with you in the desert tonight, with a billion stars all around. I've got a peaceful, easy feeling. I know you won't let me down, because I'm already standing on the ground. I found out a long time ago what a woman can do to your soul. Hey, but she can't take you anywhere. Don't already know how to go. I've got a peaceful, easy feeling. I know you won't let me down, because I'm already standing on the ground. This feeling, I may know you as a lover, as a friend. His voice keeps whispering in my ear, tell me I may never see you again. I've got a peaceful, easy feeling. I know you won't let me down, because I'm already standing, because I'm already standing, because I'm already standing on the ground. the night has come, and the land is dawn, and the moonlight is the only life I see. No, I won't be afraid. I won't be afraid, just as long as you stand by me. Oh, darling, darling, stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me. The sky we look upon shall tumble and fall, and the mountains will crumble to the sea. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. Oh, darling, darling, stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me. Oh, darling, darling, stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me. When the skies we look upon shall tumble and fall, and the mountains will crumble to the sea. No, I won't be afraid. Oh, I won't be afraid, just as long as you stand by me. Oh, darling, darling, stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me. Darling, darling, stand by me. 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 Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. Through the years, God has brought us this far and bless us with the memories we hold. Through the good times and the bad, and the happiest times and the sad. For you are more than a memory. You are a gift that God gave to me, and I thank God with all my heart for the love that you gave and the Father that you are. Looking forward to the years to come, we know not who or what lies ahead, but this we do know from our heart, life, God gave you a special part. For you are more than a memory. You are a gift that God gave to me, and I thank God with all my heart for the love that you gave and the Father that you are. Through the years, God has brought us this far and has blessed us with the memories we hold. Through the good times and the bad, and the happiest times and the sad. For you are more than a memory. You are a gift that God gave to me, and I thank God with all my heart for the love that you gave and the Father that you are. For you are more than a memory. You are a gift that God gave to me, and I thank God with all my heart for the love that you gave and the Father that you are. For the love that you gave and the Father that you are.
Oh, thank you so much, LT Smooth. Those sounds always transport me to a happy place in the island somewhere under the sun. So, what a great way to start the day. Thank you, LT Smooth. And thank you to everyone for joining us today to hear the conversations. I hope that you were inspired in some way, whether it's to go on Trailhead and learn about these amazing products or to contribute to Equal Opportunity Schools. So much to do. Now, you can find more of these amazing inspirational stories at Leading Through Change at salesforce.com/blog. Once again, salesforce.com/blog. Now, before we wrap up, one more reminder to contribute to Equal Opportunity Schools. Please go to the link sforce.co/Equal Opportunity Schools. Now, we'll be back next with our next Leading Through Change next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific. You can register at salesforce.com/events. You won't want to miss it. Listen, until then, take care of yourself and each other.
Tableau allows institutions to visualize their data clearly and make informed decisions to drive their business forward. Faculty and staff have access to dashboards where they can see a 360 view of their institution and detailed categorized metrics to understand the health of their day-to-day operations. Live university data is pulled from multiple sources across departments and platforms. Using auto-filters, institutions can get a deeper look into their data, including all the students in their pipeline from prospects to alumni. When interacting with this data, institutions can see the different interests and engagements between incoming and current students. Let's focus on a current student. Taking a closer look at student metrics, we can view changes in engagement over time and by location. And by simply dragging and dropping the student's assignment score onto color, institutions get deeper analytics into the performance of each program and engage with students on additional academic programs. Without the need to code, institutions can now quickly and easily get a 360 view of the current and future needs of their organization. Gain valuable insights into data and empower your institution to drive deeper conversations with your students, faculty, and staff with Tableau and Salesforce.